Nintendo Switch 2 unit allegedly operating. Users reported freezing and crashes while playing Cyberpunk 2077 and less power-hungry games. Both Switch 2 and its dock has cooling fans. Multiple Nintendo Switch 2 owners, most notably in Japan, are reporting the problems with the console overheating during gameplay, leading to the crashes and freezes. The problem, as noted by the Nintendo Soup, include playing hefty new titles like Cyberpunk 2077, but also less hardware-intensive titles like Pokémon and Platoon. According to the report, users are reporting game freezes and crashes, as well as fans going into overdrive in order to try and dissipate heat. The multitude of reports from Japan users or come from X and R machine translated. Some users have reported crashing and periodic freezes, but only postulated that the thermal performance might be to blame. The fans going nuts and maybe overheating, and one user reported while playing Rune Factory. Some users are definitely reporting the issue while using the Switch 2 in dark mode. A Cyberpunk 2077 player said the game had crashed at least 5 times, while the fans seems to be running at full speed. Others seem to be experiencing similar issues in handheld mode, with one user suggesting the Switch 2 become too hot to even holding while games. So beyond Japan, users Facebook has reported the Switch 2 getting warm and even hot to the touch while gaming, while other users over on Reddit are reporting similar issues. I've had my Switch 2 display a message saying that the system was overheating and entering sleep mode twice now, both times while playing the Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition docked, said one user. Another replied that confirming their Switch 2 was hot when they grabbed it from their dock after a day at work. So if you are experiencing these issues, Nintendo does have some suggestions. Sadly, they are pretty rudimentary. Action recommended includes simply unplugging your dock to let it cool down. It's moving your dock to a more ventilated area, ensuring your air vents are clear, and finally monitoring the situation. Nintendo said that if these remedies don't fix the issue, you'll need to send your Switch in for repair. The issue seems noteworthy, but not enormously prevalent thus far. During our own thermal testing of Switch 2, our unit reached 117 degrees Fahrenheit or 47 degrees Celsius while docked. In handheld, this dropped to the 102 Fahrenheit, 39 degrees Celsius, which we found generally warm to the touch. The Nintendo Switch 2 has generally been met with acclaiming, especially the company's console sales record in its opening weekend. In fact, it's so popular that Nintendo president recently had to apologize for the shortage. The launch hasn't been without bumps. However, some users have been reported Nintendo disabling their online accounts and service over the use of the bigger flash drive, even for the ROM that they already know. The follow Tom's hardware on Google News to get the our up-to-date news, analysis, and review in your feeds. Make sure to click the follow button. Okay, next. Samsung completed development of the 1C DRAM, paving way for HBM4 rollout. The Samsung Electronics has successfully developed its sixth generation DRAM, known as 1C DRAM, built using a 110nm class-produced process. The product has received the Internal Production Ready Approval (PRA), signaling it has met key quality and performance benchmarks and is now in the final phase before mass production. The milestone brings Samsung one step closer to its goal of mass producing HBM4 or fourth generation high bandwidth memory in the second half of 2025. According to the reports from the South Korean media outlets Money Today and ET News, and the PRA clearance represents an important technical and strategic achievement. PRA status confirmed that a product has cleared internal qualification processes and is ready for large-scale manufacturing. Since John Young-hyun took over as a head of Samsung Device Solutions Division in 2023, the company has focused heavily on boosting its DRAM competitiveness. Samsung has implemented sweeping design improvements and introduced new material and fabrication techniques, including dry photoresist, aimed at improving production yield. Samsung previously unveiled its fifth generation 1B DRAM in December 2022 and began mass production in May 2023. The development of the 1C DRAM has 2 years later represents a rapid generational leap and signal Samsung intended to maintain a leadership edge in memory innovation. The company now plans to gradually phase out older generation DRAM in favor of the newly developed 1C chips. Ramping up its share in production volume, Samsung is also reportedly in talks with the key suppliers and materials, components, and equipment to finalize investment agreements for the 1C DRAM production line. Samsung 1C DRAM will serve as the technological foundation for its next generation HBM4 targeted for mass production in the latter half of 2025. This is a critical battleground for high-performance computing and AI applications, where the HBM memory plays a central role. The rival SK hynix, however, is building its HBM4 on the previous generation 1B DRAM and has already begun shipping samples to the customers as of March 2025. The race to commercialize the HBM4 by late 2025 is heating up, and industry analysts knew Samsung's decision to base its HBM4 on the more advanced 1C DRAM as in strategic move to regain market momentum. Following its recent success in supplying AMD with 12-layer HBM3E chips, Samsung is now in advanced talks in NVIDIA over future supply agreements. The company is also in discussions with multiple customers for custom HBM4 solutions. Analysts expect HBM4 to begin contributing meaningfully to Samsung revenue starting in 2026. NVIDIA backed Emerald Emerald AI reduces AI factory power grid stress. The Emerald AI, a member of NVIDIA's Inception program for starting up that has some ideas and now field test proof about how to flexibly manage power consumption by AI workloads during peak power grids events, celebrated its official launch this week with $24.5 million funding round. The seed funding was led by Radical Ventures with participation from NVIDIA Venture Capital Unit and Ventures, Amplo, AMPLO, and CRV, and New Tribe. The Washington, D.C. company's notable individual investors included Google Chief Scientist Jeff Dean, former U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, the former Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, and AI pioneer Professor Pei Li, and Kleiner Perkins Chairman John Doerr. At least a couple of those names testify to the far-reaching orbit around Emerald AI founder and CEO Dr. Varun Sivaram, who was an advisor to Kerry when he was U.S. Special President Envoy for Climate during the Biden administration. Sivaram also has served as senior executive with at least 2 international alternative energy firms. With the experience in mind, Emerald AI's AI software addresses a key growing concern in data center AI evolution. How can electric power grids keep up the radical escalating demand for energy coming from increasingly large AI data centers? NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang has talked often of how his company's ever more powerful GPUs are helping to build the next generation of such AI factories, and how NVIDIA is addressing the need for greater power efficiency. Emerald AI is in a statement that the new U.S. centers will seek 5,200 gigawatts of additional power by 2030, yet the deficit and available power grid interconnection will stunt AI innovation and U.S. competitiveness, the company said. The Emerald AI conductor software platform aims to help resolve this challenge by orchestrating the power use of AI workload in real time, enabling data centers to dynamically adjust their energy consumption and support grid stability while assuring the acceptable AI compute performance, the company said. By intelligently managing energy consumption through software, AI data center can bypass grid interconnection queues that stretch 7 to 10 years or more. And now, Emerald AI is armed with more than a just notion about how to accomplish this, as the company this week also unveiled the result of a field test in Phoenix, where the company, along with the partners, including Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, NVIDIA, the Electrical Power Research Institute, and the Regional Power Utility Salt River Project, showed how a cluster of NVIDIA GPUs in a commercial data center can reduce power consumption by 25% for 3 hours as a precise response to critical periods of grid stress, an example of which would be a summer system peak load event. The kicker, however, is that even with power consumption reduced, the platform helped acceptable customer performance for AI workloads, Emerald AI said. And NVIDIA blog post offered a further glimpse at how this was achieved, stating Emerald AI achieved this by orchestrating the host of different workloads that AI factories run. Some jobs can be paused or slowed, like the training or fine-tuning of a large language model for academic research. Others, like inference queries for an AI service used by thousands or even millions of people, can't be rescheduled, but could be redirected to another data center where the local power grid is less stressed. Sivaram added in an Emerald AI known statement, we are at a critical inflection point as the exponential growth of the AI computing pressures our electrical infrastructure. To unshakable AI technology progress from our power constraints, Emerald AI transforms data centers from grid reliabilities into flex assets, enabling grid operators to swiftly interconnect AI, bolster reliability and energy security, and more efficiently harness the massive spare capacity on today's grids. Emerald AI said it is preparing for even larger-scale demonstration in Phoenix and around the country. The next 6 to 12 months will determine the gold standard for grid-responsive computing, and we are confident Emerald AI is uniquely positioned to set that standard, stated Roboto's Radical Venture partner. Next one is the AMD reverse benchmarks of Ryzen Threadripper 9000 claims it's up to 145% faster than rival Xeon in some tests, but the price is still unknown. Although AMD formally introduced its Ryzen Threadripper 9000 series processors and Computex and disclosed their specification, the company did not reveal their performance compared to predecessors and rivals or their pricing. This week, the company filled in one of these blanks and finally released the performance result of its Ryzen Threadripper from Pro 9995WX and the Ryzen Threadripper 9980 CPUs compared to Intel's Xeon W9 3595WX. With each Gen 5 based Ryzen Threadripper 9000 series, AMD did not increase core count or frequency of its CPUs for workstation and high-end desks, and so all performance increases compared to the previous generation come from microarchitectural improvement, for example, wider core execution, improved caches, faster memory, and more efficient AVX 512 support. AMD itself claims that its new Ryzen Threadripper 9000 series CPUs are 16% faster in workstation application and up to 50% faster in AI ML workloads when compared to predecessors with the same core count and clocks, which is in line with what we would expect from Gen 5 powered product. So more detailed results indicate that the 96 core Ryzen Threadripper Pro 9995 WX is 13% to 26% faster in workstation benchmarks and 22% to 23% faster in DeepSeek R1 compared to its direct predecessor, the 96-core Ryzen Threadripper Pro 7995 WX. The performance comparison of AMD new flagship with its rival from the blue camp looks more impressive, as with the 96 cores and 192 threads, it outpaces Intel's 60-core Xeon W9 3595X by 28% to 145%. Depending on the task, across every major professional workload. Of course, the tests were conducted by AMD, so take them with a grain of salt. In content creation and rendering, for example, V-Ray, After Effects, Maya, AMD list is particularly dominant and with improvement often exceeding 100%. In CAD, AEC, and simulation-heavy applications like SolidWorks, Revit, and KeyShot, AMD maintains a commanding advantage, offering faster modeling and rendering across the board. Software compilation, scientific computing, MATLAB, Chromium, Unreal Engine, and AI workloads, LLM inference, diffusion models also benefit from the Ryzen Threadripper's wider memory interface, large caches, and a more thread with performance uplift between 28% and 75%. Although Intel's Xeon W9 3595X CPU can shrink its gap with AMD's offering to 22% to 34% in some cases. The Ryzen Threadripper Pro 9995WX leads in a test conducted by AMD. The AMD's 64-core Ryzen Threadripper 9980X with a quad-channel memory subsystem is designed for high-end desktops, HEDT, and which are not exactly workstation, though prices of some of such machines exceed that of the many workstations. Nonetheless, the CPU beats Intel's Xeon W9 3595X in all workstation workloads by up to 108%. The content creation, the non-pure Threadripper 9980X shows the major advantages of its Xeon counterpart, up to 92% faster in Autodesk Maya, 80-30% in Cinebench NT, 12-2% in Adobe Premiere Pro, and an 80% in Adobe After Effects. So in CAD and rendering, AMD CPU beats its rivals by 41% to 188%. In software development and scientific workloads, the Ryzen Threadripper 9980X offers up to 65% faster compilation in Unreal Engine and 68% faster computation in MATLAB. While we should naturally take benchmark results published by the hardware developer with some skepticism, so it looks like AMD's Ryzen Threadripper 9000 series and processors will indeed faster than their competitors in heavy-duty workloads, workstation, and workloads due to higher core count and enhanced memory subsystems. Perhaps the biggest question about these new Threadripper CPUs is how much they will cost. Since these processors will likely be unrivaled in terms of performance, AMD may set almost any prices on them, making this product accessible to few workstation users with deep pockets. Now, a short article. NVIDIA working with the data center partners to build a 80-volt HVDC power system. New architecture designed to support 1 megawatt plus Lex in AI data center. NVIDIA is collaborating with the data center equipment firms to develop a new power system to support the income of 1 megawatt plus Lex. Using 800-volt high voltage direct current HVDC, and this new architecture will centralize power distribution in AI data centers, allowing power to be converted from the AC to DC at the GPU level within the server board, minimizing energy losses. Partners for the project include Infineon, ST Microelectronics and Texas Instruments for the silicon, Delta and Flex Power for the power system component, and Alternate Schneider Electric and Vertiv for the data center power systems. Today's Lexin AI factories rely on a 54-volt DC power distribution and a Berkeley copper bus bars shuttle electricity from rack-mounted power shelves to computer trays. As the racks exceed 200 kilowatts, this approach begins to hit the physical limits. Read a blog post from NVIDIA. And highlighting issues around space constraint, copper overhead, and inefficient conversions. The company said its 800-volt HVDC architecture addresses this challenge through a holistic redesign, so removing the need for the multiple voltage conversions that take place at various stages between the grid and the rack, and freeing up variable space for more compute resources, allowing for higher density configurations and improved cooling efficiency. According to NVIDIA, its approach could result in up to 5% improvement in end-to-end power efficiency and reduce maintenance cost by up to 70%, power supply unit failures, and low labor cost for component upkeep. Cooling cost could also be reduced by removing HDC power supply unit from inside racks. 800-volt HVDC isn't just about today's racks. It's about future-proofing AI infrastructure. The blog host said, full-scale production of 800-volt HVDC data centers will coincide with the NVIDIA Kyber rack scale systems in 2027, ensuring the scalability for increasing demand AI models. Microsoft, Meta, and Google are actively working towards supporting 1 megawatt racks. The three are working on a power rack side pod known as Mount Diablo, with the spec set to release to the OpenSea community. Okay, thank you for your time. See you next time.